Poker's elite is gathered in Las Vegas at the world-famous Golden Nugget Casino for an all-new Poker Superstars 3. 24 of the game's best players are set to test their skills in the most exclusive poker tournament yet. With over $1.2 million in prize money, these top-notch pros will face off in a series of 20 elimination matches, competing for a coveted Super 16 playoff spot where they'll be one step closer to the $400,000 first prize. Tonight, it is do-or-die time for Gus Hansen. Same for Phil Ivey and the 2003 main event champion Chris Moneymaker. It's Poker Superstars 3. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Golden Nugget Hotel and Casino in downtown Las Vegas, Nevada. Alongside the professor of poker, Howard Lederer, I'm Chris Rose, bringing you the final elimination match before we reach the Super 16. And in order to get to the playoffs, Gus Hansen in a must-win situation. Chris Moneymaker has to reach heads-up play in order to qualify for the Super 16. Phil Ivey, off consecutive second-place finishes, needs another solid showing here to punch his ticket. Freddie Deeb, he's on the brink of making it to the playoffs. Will he get there with 17? Phil Hellmuth, well, he has squeaked in thanks to his 20-point performance. And Antonio Esfandiari, one of the steady influences throughout Poker Superstars 3, has 29 points. We are getting it going with the blinds at 10 and 20,000. Gus Hansen, 9 deuce.
We're ready? Mike.
Yeah, buddy.
Special deal for you.
All in already?
All in, first hand. Gus
Wow.
is all in.
By the way, are there any interested observers over there, like the champ, Joe Hashem, and
The other champ?
Mike Sexton, and you all aren't going to make it if it comes down a certain way? Look at these.
That's exactly what could happen, depending on how things transpire.
Well, we'll be getting into all the interesting
No, but we
scenarios here
played.
this match.
This is the 5th match I played. Nobody watched. Nobody over there. You know. The whole time nobody watched, except today.
Daniel's representing Jennifer Harmon.
Loco.
That's true. Harmon with 19 points could be part of the tiebreaker scenario, and Gus Hansen, after having moved all in with his 9 deuce, picks up the win. Now, this is the final elimination match for all of these pros. Points are awarded based on your order of finish, with the top 16 reaching the Super 16, and that's where it gets real fun. You've got the semifinals and the finals. You'll notice both heads up. Semis, best 2 out of 3. The finals, best 3 out of 5.
Am I allowed to come with friendly advice here at this table?
Yes.
Don't try to raise my blind.
Do you really care now? It's kind of early. You know, I'll call you.
Hey, it was just a friendly advice. You can do whatever you want, right?
When the blinds are up a little, I'll take the advice more seriously.
Fine with me.
Well, certainly, you know, Hansen taking a different approach than the players that needed the win last match, moving all in the first hand with 9 deuce.
Oops. They listened. So far they listened.
Hansen wins in a walk.
Freddie, would you have raced with Ace Jack? You can't. He's moving in, you know it. This is the bizarrest poker. I love it.
Well, if you don't know how to play No Limit Texas Hold'em, don't worry, we are here to help. Each player dealt a pair of down cards, and then you can do one of 3 things. You can either call, raise, or fold. After that, we could hit the flop. 3 community cards. After that, you got yet another round of betting. That's followed by 4th Street, better known as the Turn, and another round of betting before 5th Street, also known as the River. Of course, you can push all your chips into the center of the table at any time, and the key is get the best 5-card hand from the 7 available. 20th straight week, I win with a full house.
I was on break.
How about some friendly advice? Don't raise my blind either, especially any of you guys that I can move in automatically on.
Well, Phil Ivey here with 2 5s. He is going to need at least a 3rd place finish to guarantee advancement in this tournament.
Aren't you supposed to say BAM or something?
I don't really care.
Actually, Phil, it's boom, and he is all in.
Wow.
Hansen trying to win the first 3 hands. He's moved all in for the 2nd time.
Hellmuth, Ace-Jack suited.
Well, Hellmuth knows that Hansen is playing strictly for the win. He's seen Howie's come out of the gate here. This is only hand 3, second move in.
Gus, I'm telling you, I'm probably not going to fold here, so I just don't know how I can get away from it, buddy.
I'd be very surprised.
I don't know
This
either.
is blind versus blind, so as a poker
I want
situation,
points,
it
but
seems
you
like a
know,
call. You know that Hansen would be
I'm
playing
going.
just about any 2 cards. He calls.
I don't know what I have. I had a deuce.
Wow, he didn't even look at his cards.
And a deuce. Interesting hand.
Good luck, brother.
Well, apparently
Thank you.
Gus didn't even look at his cards and
I
he
will
moved
need
in.
it.
Howie's made a very good call.
I knew he
Lucky
moved
to
it in
only
the
be
dark.
50-50.
He moved it in the dark.
Wow.
He did. He hadn't looked. I knew that.
That was hard to figure out.
The flop,
close to even.
and there's a deuce for
That's
Hansen.
actually a good flop.
Pretty good flop.
Well, Howie's going to need
Gotta be
Oh boy.
a 4-5 to get a tie.
dark
There's the
moving in
four.
guy.
Well, at least it's only a tie. That's a good news.
No 5 on the river.
Dark. I know it. And he's going to do it against the guy that can call him.
Phil Hellmuth disgusted with the all-in move in the dark by Gus Hansen, and Hellmuth is eliminated. Let's see how he's feeling. He's with Mary Strong.
Phil, Gus went into the dark. He nailed ya. I saw your face. I was like, what happened?
I mean, Gus made a bad play. I mean, he has to play every hand, but not against me because he knows that I'm in already. So for him to move in the dark, that was a really bad play. What can I say? I mean, you know, I never like to gamble in the first few hands, but the guy moved in the dark. I had ace-jack of clubs. And what's really more upsetting is the fact that he flopped a deuce. I mean, come on. Guy moves in the dark and makes a full house. Come on.
Unbelievable. So Hellmuth is eliminated. Hansen off to the early lead in a must-win situation. Folks, buckle up. This could be fun. Welcome back to the Golden Nugget Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada. Alongside the Professor of Poker, Howard Letter, I'm Chris Rose, bringing you the 20th and final elimination match. Gus Hansen off to the early start after eliminating Phil Hellmuth on just the 3rd hand of the match. So Phil Hellmuth ousted by Gus Hansen, who didn't even bother to look at his cards when he moved all in. To me, Howard, that seems like a crazy move.
Yeah, well, crazy like a fox. Gus Hansen has properly analyzed this situation. He has 2 players at the table, Freddie Deeb and Phil Ivey, who really can't even play a pot. And all that matters to Gus Hansen tonight is that he wins. And he's willing to risk finishing 5th and 6th to increase his chance of winning.
Okay, last week, Mimi Tran and Joe Hashem, similar situation. They weren't aggressive, so were they in the wrong?
Well, I think maybe they were just maybe a little intimidated. They didn't want to look bad. Gus Hansen's willing to look bad to maximize his chances of moving on to the next round.
Once again, a win, and he's into the Super 16.
And Phil Hellmuth's elimination, very bad news for Mike Sexton and Joe Hashem at 19 points.
Sorry, boys. I know he's moving in the dark. Do you see that?
Always moving in the dark.
But I'm the one guy he's not supposed to move in the dark against, right?
It doesn't matter to him. It's all he doesn't.
Yeah, I guess so.
He just needs to win. It's all.
Look at Gus. He's just whistling away, doing his thing.
Gus very pleased with himself so far. He's gotten rewarded with some very early aggression. He's in great shape to possibly win. That's his only possible result tonight to advance.
All in again for Gus Hansen for the 3rd time.
Of course not.
He didn't even look again.
I can't call that hand. I can't beat a dead hand. I've had a deuce every hand so far.
Not this time.
It's okay. I love what you're doing. You just bust him up, baby. I'm rooting for you.
Of course, if Freddie Deeb gets in 4th place, he will advance to the Super 16.
I act like I'm looking, but I'm not even, you know.
And just to change it up, I'm going to make it 350.
Wow. A change in gears by
That changed
Hansen.
my decision very much.
Okay. So far, so good.
And Hansen
Good
wins
luck.
again.
I'll look.
Well, Gus is going to stick to his guns here. It may be a while before we don't see him move all in. It would actually probably take someone else moving in front of him for him to even look at his cards at this point.
Well, Gus Hansen, one of the most decorated players around, of course, winner of the original Poker Superstars series, and a man who's always fit in body and mind.
definitely helps to be in good shape as a poker player, even though you don't really combine poker with, or I mean just being fit in general. But in a long, grueling tournament over 5, 6, 7 days, I mean, I've seen people play really good poker the first 2, 3, 4 days. Then on the 5th and 6th and final day, they just made mistakes that they usually wouldn't make, simply because they're tired, and that could cost you the tournament. So, I mean, if you have a little bit better stamina, just it definitely helps you.
Well, right now, Gus Hansen threatening to run away from the rest of the pack in this match. He is unbelievable. Deeb staring at ace-3 offsuit. We expect him to fold. He told us that was his strategy.
And we expect Gus to move all in.
Well, putting the rest of the table all in is Gus Hansen.
Right. Now, Chris Moneymaker, he needs a minimum of a second-place finish
Oh, that was my best
to
hand so
advance.
far.
The reason he would advance at 19 points is he actually holds the tiebreaker over Hashem and Harmon. So he's shooting for a second-place finish. Hansen, first place. Ivy needs at least a third to advance, and Deeb needs a fourth. 4 players have very specific results. Here it goes again.
Looks like 350.
Hansen putting to the table again. Not even looking at his cards.
He hasn't even been dealt his
mean,
cards.
Is this reckless?
Stanley, put the title on it, Gus.
You are the best, Gus.
This is live straddle.
Gus is making his strategy very clear. He knows there are certain players that are just trying to hang on, particularly Ivy and Deeb. He knows will not call them unless maybe they have aces they might call. So they call them.
Worked again.
Yeah, it did work again.
Oh, that's up.
Now, how frustrating is this for the rest of the players, Howard?
Oh, I don't think it's frustrating at all, Chris. They're just waiting for a good hand, try and pick them off.
In the meantime, Gus Hansen, look at this, 750,000 in chips and the rest of the field in the 200s. Can anybody slow Gus down? Find out after this. Poker Superstars 3 is brought to you by Card Player Magazine, creators of the innovative poker odds calculator, and by the Golden Nugget Hotel and Casino, Las Vegas, Nevada. And that's where Howard Lederer and yours truly, Chris Rose, continue to watch the Gus Hansen steam train roll along. 750,000 in chips. He has won all 7 hands so far, including ousting Phil Hellmuth on the 3rd hand of the match. You love his strategy, Howard.
I think it's absolutely the correct strategy. He's going for first place. He knows what he has to do tonight, and he is willing to gamble to do it. This is a guy that doesn't mind getting embarrassed.
Esfandiari, ace-8, suited.
Under normal circumstances, I would have to raise his hand, but against you, sir, I give up. This hand, I can just throw away.
Oh, that was a good hand, by the way. We both had ace-8 suited.
Okay, Gus, 8-0. He's had 1 double up, and he's stolen about 200,000 chips.
Right.
Just in antes.
What are you doing here? Just sitting here? Like?
Just gonna dwindle away, you know?
Huh?
Just gonna dwindle away.
For what?
It's a nothingness.
It's all right. I mean, it's a better start than I had hoped for. I'm actually hoping to set the record for most hands won in a row in a tournament. So far, I'm doing pretty good.
You won every hand, right?
I think I might already be there, but
Yeah, we have our research looking that up right now. Gus, we'll get back to you. Phil Ivey, 4-3 offsuit, gets rid of it. Esfandiari folds. Deeb on the button, ace-6 suited.
He's not going to play.
Nope.
Deeb has a strategy in mind. He's going to stick to his strategy.
Right. Once again, Deeb just needs a 4th place finish to advance to the playoffs. Hansen making his move again.
I know I have
Moneymaker.
the best hand, or I hope. I don't know.
Now, this is the guy who could call
I
him.
don't know if I can outrun you or not, but if I'm going to get second, I got to take my chances.
Well, there he goes. Somebody's standing up to Gus
that's why I
Hansen, and
shouldn't
it's
have
Chris
done it. I knew
Moneymaker.
that. I always have the 10.
And how about that? Hansen dominated at that.
Moneymaker making absolutely the correct play, playing for his position. He needs a double up to finish at least second.
Hold on once.
So can somebody finally win a hand against Gus Hansen? 5 queen, looking good so far for Chris Moneymaker.
Hansen's going to need 2 spades or a 7 somewhere along the way. There's the 7.
Oh my! And Moneymaker
7, unfortunately.
is the air out of his balloon. He needs an ace or a 10 to stick around.
Welcome to my life at Poker Superstars, ladies and gentlemen.
You can hit a 10 too, by the way.
I know.
A 6 hits on the river, so Chris Moneymaker's tournament is over. He stood up to Gus Hansen, went in with the best hand, but doesn't leave with it.
I think that was the official hand for the record.
I just qualified, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Yes, congratulations to Freddie Deeb, who is now in the Super 16. As for Chris Moneymaker, tough run continues. He is with Mary Strong.
Gosh, Chris, you're done.
Yeah, it's sort of funny. This is just, it wraps up my whole Poker Superstars experience 2 and 3. Get my hand in with the best, and it doesn't hold up. I mean, I got a guy moving in every time in the blind, and you pick up a hand like Ace-10, of course you're going to call it. I have him completely dominated, and he catches a 3-outer. You know, it's what it is. It's a fun tournament, and I enjoyed my experience. I'll be back next time. But, you know, I'm just snake bit at this thing, and, you know, maybe next time it'll be better, but it is what it is, and now I get to go home.
Well, hopefully you catch some luck next time.
Maybe.
Back over to you, Chris.
Every single hand.
Every hand, so far.
That is pretty sick.
I tell you what, just enjoy this, because they may never, this may never come up again.
This may never come up again.
Where I let you raise so many hands, and I just muck without even looking sometimes.
It could be so interesting if I just won all the hands. Knocked everybody out and won all the hands.
I'd like to be heads up with you with about 50,000.
It's all right.
Well, here goes Hansen again, putting everybody all in.
By the way, Chris, a lot has happened here. Actually, Freddie Deeb pointed out that he advanced. Also, Mike Sexton advanced with that elimination.
Right.
He is now in.
Well, now the question is, what is Antonio Sfondiari to do with King-Queen? A monster hand.
Well, Antonio not playing for a whole lot here. He's playing for chips, which are important. A man's moving all in every hand. You pick up King-Queen. I think it might be time to call.
All right, Gussie. So.
Yep, there's the call.
Maybe
I
I'll
think
make you
Antonio
pay.
had to make this call.
You have an ace?
No.
I have 2 pictures.
Will somebody finally beat Gus Hansen? Find out after this. Antonio Esfandiari tried to be the first player not named Gus Hansen to win a hand in this match. He's all in.
Well, it was a pleasure playing with you boys.
I don't want to
Take
shake your
care.
hand. I don't want to
Take care,
shake your hand.
Gus.
I'm wait till you go broke. No, I'm just.
For good measure, I should win this one.
Well, you're gonna make straight out on the flop, Gus. There's a jack.
There's a king, though.
The jack was in the window, too.
Jag was in the window.
Jack was in the window.
So both
All right,
make a
tennis
pair. The turn, a 9 of hearts.
9, a great card. A jack for the win. A 10 for a tie. And there it
there's the
is.
10.
It's not that bad. It's not that bad, actually.
Well, he now hasn't won every hand, but he is a win or a tie in every hand here, Chris.
Gus Hansen on an unbelievable run.
Mike, Sexton, for the record, is that okay to have a tie in there?
Mike Sexton says, yeah, whatever.
I think some
he's
cold
too
water
amused.
here if you want to cool off.
No, I
Just
think
pour it
Mike
over your
Sexton's
head.
very amused. He's advanced already.
Yeah.
I just want to learn the game, you know?
He's very pleased
I'm
with how
learning a
this
lot
is
by
going.
watching Gus.
Or you just want to be sitting here with the pros.
Right, I want TV time with Gus and Phil and Freddie, champions, you know, of the world.
Phil, you ever talk?
I have something to talk about.
You can't ever think of anything? I mean, just think of something, all this going on. I guess you did a while ago.
Phil
What did you
needs
say?
to fold his way up one more spot to guarantee advancement.
So is he not going to play a hand?
He may not play a hand. He should not play a hand here until he is guaranteed advancement to the Super 16.
Wow.
There's a lot of interesting stuff going on here. If Ivy would be the next one out and Gus didn't win, we would actually have Hashem advancing and Harmon and Ivy in an absolute tie. They'd have to play off
Wow.
to see who advances.
Esfandiari folds, as does Deeb, and Gus Hansen. Wow, unbelievable. He's putting Ivy all in.
Well, he knows Ivy can't call. He's taking advantage of the structure beautifully. Hansen is playing perfectly tonight.
How many points you got, Phil?
Busted every single person.
I got
Before this?
16.
16, so now you guaranteed 19 points, right?
How much you got?
You got 20.
So you in already?
Well, somebody's been paying attention to the Poker Superstars 3 scoreboard.
Yeah.
But if Ivy were to end up at 19, he'd be tied with Harmon in last place for the 19-point finishers.
But he's in before we started. That's what I was asking. He got mad at me.
Oh, you didn't ask me anything. You told me I was a donkey, is what you did. Basically, that's what you said.
You're calling
you said, why are you playing like this?
You're calling yourself a donkey. I didn't call you a donkey.
You're telling me you don't know, you're telling the people on the rail what I'm doing, this and that.
Then let's just all be friends.
Gus, if I'm gonna try to get the 10,000 now, I'm already in, so.
All right.
I'm gonna call you. I got 2 8s.
2 8s. So I have a good hand, a really good hand
Did you
against
see
2
it?
8s.
I don't think you get. You looked in the dark, right?
What?
9-10?
180, 180.
180. I got the queen 10.
That's the hand you broke me with in the World Poker Tour when I had Ace King.
You know, and I'm not even going to say that Gus Hansen's all in. Just assuming that every hand from here on out.
At this point, it looks like he's going to continue his strategy until something changes, certainly until Phil Ivey.
Who's big favorite? Phil, Gus or me?
Well, right now
Wow.
it's Gus after hitting the 10.
Wow.
Not to mention the straight draw.
He's got the bigger pair and the bigger straight
9-10
draw.
jack. 7 on the turn. No, it's a 5.
Freddie Deeb's going to need a queen or a 7, or he'll be eliminated.
The river, a 4 of hearts.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yep.
Now you can say something, right?
Yeah, Phil Ivey has just advanced to the Super 16
baby, don't be
based on his
mad.
third place.
Which eliminates Jennifer Hart from the competition. She will not be playing in the Super 16.
You're welcome, Phil.
We have actually clarified a lot here, Chris.
Okay, good luck, man. That's why.
We are down to 2 spots available. Gus has to win to advance, or it'll be Joe Hashem in the final 16.
Well, right now it looks like Gus Hansen. He has got the upper hand. Action continues after this. Welcome back to Las Vegas, Nevada. Down to 3-handed play in elimination match 20. Gus Hansen, if you're just joining us, has basically moved all in every hand and now has a dominant chip lead over Antonio Esfandiari and Phil Ivey. Ivey just qualified for the Super 16 once Freddie Deeb was eliminated. Esfandiari with Big Slick pushing all in, and Gus Hansen actually staring at an ace.
Okay.
Is going to make the call.
Okay.
You have an ace?
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, that was just a poker call that Hansen made with Esfandiari all in. Gus isn't taking advantage of any
190.
situation. He's just feeling like his ace high is probably good. He runs into a big hand with us.
Good luck, Dr.
Esfandiari's ace king.
Jokinson.
I need it.
Ace king and an ace 5.
The flop, King 7 tray.
Four
Esfandiari
spades.
connects on top
I really
pair.
want the 4
Oh,
spades.
great shape. Hansen's going to need a lot of help here.
All right.
Doesn't find it on the turn. In
190.
fact, Hansen's
Right?
drawing dead, and
180, 190.
he's lost a hand.
I did not win every pod.
We're
190.
confused.
Yeah.
I know.
What's going on? Chip's going away from Gus Hansen.
For the first time in the entire match, he did have a split pot, but this is the first time Hansen's actually lost a pot. Unreal. And Joe Hashem, of course, if Gus Hansen doesn't win, then Hashem will advance to the Super 16.
That was a great hand for Hashem. Can't be thrilled with this, looking at this huge mountain of chips that Hansen has, but he's got 2 good players fighting for him. Sitting back, hoping for the best, but kind of helpless.
He's gonna fold. Say it ain't so.
Oh, a fold!
No.
And Phil Ivey's moving all in.
Did you just say fold?
I did.
Phil moved all in.
It was a struggle. Ivey picks up the chips.
That was the
He
first
folded.
10.
He just folded. Did you guys see that?
Joe Hashem rooting for Phil Ivey and Antonio Esfandiari. Of course, Ivey, a 5-time World Series of Poker bracelet winner. Poker is definitely his profession by choice, but his passion, well, he's into something else that's on the green turf.
I love to play golf. I mean, I just started playing maybe a year and a half ago, and I really enjoy it. I thought it was, when I first started, I thought it was the dumbest game in the world, but now I'm really starting to get into it. So whenever I'm not playing poker, I like to play golf. I'm bad right now, but I'm learning, and hopefully I get better. That's all I'm gonna say about the golf. Trying to ruin my action, man.
That was good up and down from the bunker.
I'll tell you what, I don't think Phil's happy that people got to see that on national TV.
No,
I mean,
that's going to ruin it.
as they say, he ought to be laying it down for the cameras.
Right, exactly. Chunk one out of the bunker.
Right.
Ivey moving all in.
What are we looking at, 180?
Well, we know Hansen's going to call here. It's not going to be laying down any
That was
ace-8s.
enough.
Yep. I think he just looked at one card there and called.
Hope it was a king.
It was an ace.
It's got Phil dominated. Phil has accomplished his goal tonight, though.
Yeah, but unfortunately for Joe Hashem, he really hasn't.
Yes.
Once
well,
again.
he hasn't accomplished Joe's goal.
Right. Hashem needs either Ivy or Esfandiari to win this table, not that man, Gus Hansen.
Good luck, boys.
The flop, 9-4 Jack.
Great flop for Hansen.
The turn card, a 5.
Okay, Ivy can win with a deuce or a 3.
9-4 Jack and a 5 on 5th Street.
There it
The 3
is.
hits on the river. Wow. A double up by Phil Ivy and Gus Hansen. Losing more chips, Howard?
Joe Hashem has won the last 2 hands. He's not at the table.
But really, he is playing, essentially.
He is essentially playing. He has a bigger interest in what's going on at this table than either Ivy or Esfandiari.
Remarkable. Well, Gus Hansen, despite that loss, still more than $1 million in chips. And here's what's going on inside the poker room. Gus Hansen, more than $1.1 million in chips, followed by Phil Ivy and Antonio Esfandiari. Both Ivy and Esfandiari are moving on to the Super 16. Hansen will do the same if he wins. If not, Joe Hashem will claim that final spot. Hansen first to act with the 10-5 suited. And another fold out of Hansen. Ivy all in, and Esfandiari with an ace as well. A better one at that.
Ivy needs to stop picking up ace deuce. Looks like he's going to get called here, and he will be dominated. Really don't know what Antonio's thinking about. This is blind versus blind.
There goes the magician. Well, Ivy was dominated on the last hand against Gus Hansen and hit a card on the river.
He'll need some help here. You can see there's a pretty good chance of a tie. About 28% chance of a tie, but only a 26% chance that Ivy will win this pot.
And remember, it's Esfandiari that's all in, not Ivy. An ace hits on the flop.
You still wish you moved in, guys?
Phil with the best hand. The turn, a 6. So
Ivy's
it's down to a deuce for Phil Ivy.
Or a 5 or a 6 for a tie.
An 8 comes on the river, so the magician doubles up.
60.
And although both these players have punched their tickets to the Super 16, they both want those points. Remember, for every point you take into the Super 16, 20,000 in chips.
They both want those points, and they wouldn't mind that first place money either.
Which is 10 grand. Speaking of 10,000, that's how many chips Phil Ivy has left at this point. Antonio Esfandiari in second place. Gus Hansen right now in the lead, where he's been the entire match.
I think Phil's thinking about whether he can get back on the golf course here before it gets dark.
Well, the blinds at 15 and 30,000. King 9 offsuit for Ivy.
He doesn't look very excited, does he?
He throws 2 chips in.
Yeah. I think he's almost hoping he goes broke here. He's got so few chips, he'd have to double up about 8 times in a row just to get back in the match.
Well, Esfandiari has called. Hansen with the Jack-4 suited.
You know, and actually this last hand wasn't that bad for Joe Hashem. I mean, the fact that Ivy and Esfandiari played a big pot against each other, now there's one player that has some chips that can stand up to Hansen.
Right. Well, Hansen is checked, and the flop goes 8-10-5. Pair of hearts on the board. Checked by Esfandiari, a check by Hansen. Ivy checks as well. 3 hits on the turn.
Ivy still has the best hand.
All 3 players.
Oh, there's the jack.
Yep.
Check. Gus Hansen's going to win this pot and eliminate Phil Ivy.
That's all right.
Check?
Yeah.
Everybody checks down, shows him, and Phil Ivy's going to walk on over to the first hole.
Job well done for Phil Ivy. He advances to the Super 16. Has to be pretty pleased with his result.
Pretty amazing that a guy is going to be that pleased with his results after he barely played the first half of this match. But that's exactly what he needed to do.
That's what he had to do.
Understanding the format, so important. in Poker Superstars 3. So, Gus Hansen, still your leader, followed by Antonio Esfandiari and Phil Ivey. We'll see you in the playoffs. Actually, we'll see you with Mary Strong.
Thanks, Chris. Phil, you made
The cut, I'm pretty excited. I had a slow start. The first two little satellites, I come in fifth on both times, so I had 2 points after the first two. And I bounced back with 2 seconds in the third, so now I advanced.
Was it your strategy to stay away from Gus Hansen? He was just taking people out like that.
Well, yeah, I was just going to let him do the work for me. Again, you know, you're not really trying to win. You're not really trying to win this satellite here. I'm trying to just come in the top three, so this way I know for sure that I was going to have enough points to advance to the next round.
Well, good luck in the Super 16.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Well, Phil Ivey said he was excited. Didn't look it to me.
Hansen v. Esfandiari right after this. Welcome back to FSN's continuing coverage of Poker Superstars 3. Howard Lederer and Chris Rose hanging out at the Golden Nugget Hotel and Casino, about to tip off heads-up play between Gus Hansen, who has the chip lead and has basically from the onset, he's going against the magician, Antonio Esfandiari, more than 6,000 in chips. All right, Howard, we'll start heads-up play in just a second, but really, you would give every player at tonight's table an A for their performance.
Well, absolutely. We saw Phil Ivey and Freddie Deeb do what they needed to do. They folded their way to the next round by just throwing their cards away until they had moved up to earn enough points. We also had Chris Moneymaker. He played aggressively, but he found a good spot for his chips. He just got unlucky. And we had Gus Hansen playing just about every hand, but doing what he had to do to put himself in great position for the win.
So if Gus Hansen bests Antonio, that means Hansen moves on to the Super 16. If not, Joe Hashem is in.
Wow.
Blind still at 15 and 30,000 to begin heads-up play.
Could. Me and Gus Hansen heads up. You know, I got to get redemption for that 10-8.
You could.
We're ready.
Antonio was born ready.
Dr. Jakobinson, it's a pleasure, you know.
Actually, Antonio there was referring to that 10-8. There was a big hand he and Hansen played in a big televised final table. Hansen made an enormous call with 10-8, ran into Esfandiari's 2 sevens and eliminated him in that match.
Well, Esfandiari gets the walk, and Joe Hashem, very interested spectator, has been all night long.
Well, we're playing musical chairs. There's one chair left. 2 players want to sit down.
And if Esfandiari doesn't kick it into gear, the music will stop. And Hashem will be left standing. Hansen takes this one easily.
Well, these chip counts are certainly close enough that if Esfandiari does a double up here, Hansen will be in big trouble. He has to be careful.
What day, 17th?
I'm actually going.
You know, Gus Hansen, obviously, he's one of my favorite players to watch. Has been for a long time. It's just so unpredictable with his play.
Well, I have to give Gus Hansen credit. He had the courage of his convictions here, came out firing, shooting for the win only, and it looks like he's in a good position.
Oh, he picks up the blinds yet again. And Joe Hashem really sweating this one out. Gus Hansen, almost 1.2 million in chips. Antonio Esfandiari, slightly over 600,000. What's the strategy in heads-up play, Howard? How do things change?
Well, the blinds are high. They're going to have to be playing hands here. They can't be too selective. Esfandiari's looking for a hand like a king-8 and play a big pot and try and double up.
Calls. Does the magician?
You know, Hansen might make a big raise here. Esfandiari just limped in. He can't think that Esfandiari has much of a hand. Probably doesn't at least have an ace. Maybe could just have the king. Well, he's...
Yeah, Gus makes it 120 to go.
Made a small raise here. Could see some fireworks here.
Well, I know you're calling, so might as well.
There it goes. Esfandiari all in.
That's what I love about heads-up play. You can actually do a slow limp-in trap play with a hand like king-8. And he's done it beautifully. He's gotten Hansen to commit some chips. He's putting them all in.
I had a feeling it was one of these funky moves.
So what's going through Gus'
Do you have
brain?
any white chips whatsoever?
Well, he's just wondering if Esfandiari is just making some crazy play with like a 6 high or 7 high here. If not, he knows he's up against the hand like Ace Jack, Ace Queen, or King 8. It's a very small chance his hand is good, unless Esfandiari is just making a crazy bluff.
Decision.
It's a tough hand for Hansen, but he is getting a reasonable price here to call.
He's doing some math.
Yeah.
Yeah?
He's doing the math, and it's probably not adding up too well for him. That's the problem. And at this point, all strategy has gone out the window. We're no longer worried about the format of the tournament. We're just going for the win, and he's just going to have to make a good poker decision here. So much easier when all you have to do is move all in blind.
All right, let's go. I can't stand folding.
There he goes.
Can't stand.
Gus Hansen in, Esfandiari with the best hand.
It shows a queen and a jack.
For you, Joe. I got it in with the best of it.
That is true. Joe Hashem, the president of the Antonio Esfandiari fan club. Well, will Antonio's hand hold up, or will that man Gus Hansen catch a card and punch his ticket to the Super 16? Find out next. Antonio Esfandiari all in against Gus Hansen. If Esfandiari's hand holds up, he will double up.
Oh, I can't take it. I can't take it. You're so sick. No queen, no jack.
Let's see some picture cards.
Look at this. Well, there's the queen for Gus Hansen.
Great flop for Hansen.
And Joe Hashem sick to his stomach. If Hansen wins this hand, he wins the match and takes the Super 16 spot that could have been Hashem's. It's down to the river.
Esfandiari needing a king. No.
A6 comes on the river. It is done. A remarkable run by Gus Hansen, and it concludes with a spot in the Super 16 as Joe Hashem is knocked out.
That was for you, Mikey.
I tried, Joe.
Esfandiari almost apologizing to Joe Hashem.
Well, you got to feel for Joe, but this man, he knew what he had to do, and he executed, came out on top, and advanced.
Antonio Esfandiari, a solid second-place finish. He is with Mary Strong.
Thanks, Chris. Antonio, what was it like playing with Gus Hansen out there? He was ruthless.
Playing with Gus is fun. You can't aggress him. You just have to wait and get a hand and let him aggress you and hope that your hand holds up. That's the only strategy you can take against Gus because he's a madman. I mean, he knew that he had to win, so he just all in every hand. And chances are no one has a hand, and if they do, if he has 2 live cards, then, you know, he's not drawing really dead. So, and it worked out his way.
So you're second in point standings right now, 36 points heading into the Super 16. That's pretty important. You need a lot of chips in there to stay up.
Right, I'm going to start with the second biggest stack, so we'll see how it goes.
All right, Antonio, thanks. Congratulations on taking second there. Back to you, Chris.
Mary, thank you. Once again, remember, it is 20,000 chips per point. As for the prize money, Gus Hansen picking up a cool 10 grand for his efforts today. Time right now for the Hooters bust out of the match. We have a few to choose from with Gus Hansen. How about on the third hand of this match? Didn't even look at it. Held up against Phil Hellmuth, who obviously wasn't a happy camper in exiting the table. Gus Hansen, the winner of this match, and now he is with Mary Strong.
I needed to win, so I knew I had to gamble from the get-go. And because I could put a lot of pressure on people that needed maybe 1, 2, or 3 extra points, I had a good opportunity to really get away with it. So I took a chance, and it worked.
You seemed incredibly, I mean, I saw you before the match. You seemed so focused.
Well, sometimes it's very easy to focus when you really know what your exact goal are, the way you're going to try and reach it. Then, luckily for me, I reached it. So it was fun.
Congratulations on the win, Gus.
Thanks a lot.
Chris?
Mary, thank you. Time to take a look at our final Card Player regular season standings. Jeff Schulman, the CEO of Card Player Magazine, finishing on top.
He played beautifully. 3 wins. His worst finish, 3rd place.
Not bad. Taking a look at all these happy campers, they all advanced to the Super 16 as well. Obviously a bitter pill for Joe Hashem. We saw him. He finished with 19 points. Same total as Jennifer Harmon as well. Ted Forrest, who made the playoffs last year, unfortunately the only one who didn't even see double digits. All right, Howard, let's take a look at the playoffs. Our first Super 16 match, Shulman, Alezra, Matisow, and Sexton.
You know, having the chip lead in these things, it's huge. You have a big chip advantage twice to advance.
How about 3 world champions?